Welcome back, everybody. Well, look who's here, Dr. Paul. Hair's grown in, Paul.
Growing it in.
Look a little bit like a rooster.
Oh man, no more.
Good way to start, right?
No more Michael Bolton, huh?
You know, no more Michael Bolton.
He's done.
Good topic, big topic, something you hear about every single day. I heard about it in the car on the way down today. Vaccinations. What are they? What are the pros? What are the cons? And so I started to talk to Paul about it, and sure enough, like most things related to health and nutrition, he's got a very, very good background on this one too. So Paul, let's start. Vaccinations, what are they?
Yeah, so vaccinations really kind of originated back in the day with polio. And they figured they had to deal with this outbreak. And what was a way to deal with it? So they developed a little non-agent or a weakened source of the actual virus, injected it into the cells of people, and saw the body's immune response and see what happened. And sure enough, the body responds, it kicks in. So since the advent of that, they've developed now, as we well know, immunizations and vaccinations for a whole host of different viruses and health conditions, in the attempt that the body is going to innately orchestrate a war against that immunization, that introduction. Now, in most cases, it's an inactive form of the virus. So the virus can't replicate it like it normally would in us. So if we were to be exposed to a flu virus or a stomach virus, that would begin to infiltrate and replicate massively to the point where it would all of a sudden manifest itself in the symptoms that we would get when we get the flu or pneumonia or a stomach bug. In this case, what's happening is the non-active agent is strong enough to produce the body's immune system to kick in and fight a war. Now, there is some challenges with giving immunizations, and that is it does leave the body a little bit susceptible to what's called an opportunistic infection. So, like, for example, if I put an immunization in you, what happens is your body goes to war against that immunization, that non-active agent. And it leaves the rest of your immune system kind of weakened. So if you expose yourself to some other pathogen or opportunistic infection, virus, you're more susceptible.
Well, you know what? One of the things that you commonly hear is that, I got the flu vaccination this year. So they'll say, yeah, but you might have a couple of symptoms or the first couple of days afterward. And that's got not so much to do with the fact that you've been vaccinated, because that's an inactive virus, but it's the fact that the antibodies in your system are all rushing to take care of that. You're leaving yourself open to some opportunistic viruses.
That's part of it. Also, this is an immune response to this flu vaccination. So it's an inflammatory response. And whenever we have inflammation in our body, it leaves us feeling a little crappy.
Yeah, I got it. Again, we're not here to editorialize on the pros and cons. People feel very strongly about this, much more strongly than I thought. But, when you talk about measles, the vaccinations in my generation, you would get it for mumps and measles and chicken pox and tetanus, polio, God forbid, right?
Mumps,
mumps,
rubella, diphtheria.
So, but we've had a big measles outbreak in California because not enough children were vaccinated.
That's correct.
So without saying pros or cons, what are the pros?
Well, the pros are to prevent it from happening. So, there's a huge pro to certain immunizations, particularly in these diseases that, at one time were pretty fatal for people and devastating. So the fact that we developed really effective vaccinations against these shouldn't have been stopped. I mean, we should have, I think we got a little bit lax. Some people, we let our guard down a little bit. So I think we need to continue to vaccinate and immunize. I mean, at least that would be my personal theory philosophy, opinion. Not the opinion of the show, of course, but mine. Because it does prevent some of these really serious conditions. Others are a little bit more subjective and personal, such as the flu vaccine, right? And some of these others that we kind of routinely get year after year. But in the main disease immunizations, such as polio, measles, mumps, and tetanus, I mean, those should be done appropriately and at the
You know
time
what,
that we
Paul?
do them.
I completely agree with you, but I understand that the two sides of the issue, and I think the other side of the issue, of course, has to immediately go with two things that I've heard.
Yeah.
That you're interfering with the natural order,
Right.
and you're taking away someone's free choice.
Absolutely.
Now, one sounds a little bit more medical, and the other one sounds a little bit more social. So, you're up against that, right?
Yeah.
But there are people out there that believe that it interferes with the natural order.
Right. And let things take their natural course. Well, if that's the case, it will expose people to some of these conditions, and measles is a perfect example.
Yes, that's
looking
right.
what's happening. Tuberculosis, happened to come around for a while too, for the same reason. So we have to be careful about the consequence of exhibiting free will and choosing that.
Yes, for sure. And I completely understand. I got one for the virus for the winter. I didn't want to get sick with the flu.
Right.
But again, my generation, we got it for everything: polio and diphtheria and measles and mumps and chicken pox. And I believe it was the right thing to do.
Yeah, I just think we have a little bit more personal choice now.
Yes, I got you. Hey, I want to cycle back on something that you said before. This fascinates me. You mentioned antibodies going to war and that your body has a memory. If it goes up against, even if it's an inactive virus, it recognizes, hey, I don't think things are going too well over there in the French Quarter.
Yeah.
I think I'm going to send the army in. In terms of memory,
yeah. So
how long does the memory last?
That's a great question. So let's talk about that. Something like measles, mumps, and rubella and tetanus, those are on a much longer cycle. When our body is exposed to that, immunized form of it, or that vaccinated form of it, we can build up a defense, and that can our body's immune response memory persists for a long time.
Yeah.
A long time, 10 years, sometimes even more.
Wow.
Sometimes not quite as much. The flu and the pneumonia, but flu is just a classic one. How often do we have to get that?
Yeah, I get it every year.
Exactly, because that changes form. That can really replicate and kind of change very quickly. And so we have to be more responsive to that one, which is why we get the flu vaccine every year, or it's offered every year.
Boy, I got you. But you realize that your body remembers for up to a decade. That's really insane.
Yeah, sometimes longer. Pretty wild.
Hey, one thing before we go, how's the research study coming?
It's going great. Next week, we're 4 weeks in. They're doing fantastic. And next week, we start our 4-week testing. So we're following them out for 12 weeks, and we got 5-week testing coming up next week. So going great. Very proud of all of you.
Good. I think that's, well, we're going to be following you through this.
Well,
the good, the bad, the ugly.
Maybe we could even, bring on a live.
Oh, that'd be great.
Wouldn't that be fun?
Yes, it would be fun. Well, Paul, thanks very much for taking the time coming in today, and we'll see you next week.
Looking forward to it.
Yeah, thanks. To see this interview again, head to our website, looktvonline.com.